hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Metal Gear University.
I am T.
And I'm Kay. And we are welcoming you to another 201 episode. Today we are talking about In the Darkness of Shadow Moses, The Unofficial Truth by Nastasha Romanenko.
If you have a Goodreads account, it's actually there. You can mark it on your thing.
In our last episode, we gave a game FAQ link that had the complete works of George Franklin, the book report. It had the work of Gary McGolden, and then it has hers. Someone, I guess, typed it out, right?
I suppose so. They must have. If they back in the day, yeah.
That was back in that game FAQ is from 2005. So who would have thought that person who wrote that was like 20 years later, someone's going to be referring to this.
They're an unofficial contributor of Metal Gear University. They wrote that whole thing out not knowing.
I would love if they get like alerts when people view it and they're like, why am I getting email alerts? That'd be amazing. But as always, we come to you first with updates about what's been going on in the last 2 weeks. Any things that we've been doing or anything that's piqued our interest. I have one thing in mind that I can't stop thinking about, but I know we should touch on other.
Okay.
Was there anything on your mind, or you just want to talk strictly about Drake and Kendrick Lamar?
I mean, we should warm up to that.
I can't stop thinking about it. I mean, it happened yesterday. The whole back and forth.
That was insane.
So, I mean, what do we start first with?
Let's start off a little light.
Okay.
Stellar Blade is officially out.
Oh, I forgot. People are liking it.
I genuinely could not tell what kind of a game it was because all the clips I saw had no people playing the game. And I was like, look, I get it. She's a baddie. I'm not gonna deny that. But like, what is it?
All the clips I've seen is like, it looks just like a ladder simulator.
I have seen so many clips of that goddamn ladder.
I don't know. I feel like we've had hot women in games before. I'm even thinking back to like Soul Calibur when you had Taki and like each like
breasticle like, moved
individually.
Yeah.
Like I feel, or Ivy in the same game.
Or I mean, in more recent years, there's 2B from Nier Automata.
It's just weird how I don't know why people. It seemed like this really big hyperfixation on her.
I don't know. I feel like it's like a mix of people who are just like genuinely into those kinds of games. I eventually figured out it's kind of like a Souls-like game.
Okay.
Eventually I figured that out. But there are people who are into that kind of gameplay. Then there's like the second subset of people that are like into like, you know, like bad bitches just swinging swords around and stuff.
Okay.
And then there are the goblins.
They're the hungry.
The hungry. They like go outside, my man.
They hunger.
They hunger.
Did you see that GoFundMe? Where there was a GoFundMe for those who don't know. People are stating that Stellar Blade is censored, and I believe there were certain outfits in which certain like additions to a shirt were added. So like if it was too much cleavage, they put like a little camisole under. It was things to I guess make it less lewd. But there's this whole, not GoFundMe, it's a petition.
Change.org or something like that.
Change.org.
It's something akin to that.
And not only could you sign it so that, you know, you can say, hey, we want it to be reverted back to its original creation. People have videos of like their feelings on it. And so you just have all these people who are just like.
I hope that there are performance artists around them because Wow.
I feel like there's so many like horny games that are made, and there's like other bad bitches as main characters.
And you know what I don't understand? It's not like they took out the lewdness in Stellar Blade. Have you seen some of these outfits?
I know the main one that people like, it looks kind of like almost like a flesh suit. Like it's just
it's like a nude skin suit. But then there's like a literal like bikini one. There are multiple like, you know, sassy little outfits that you could put Eve, I think her name. You could put Eve into.
I don't know her name.
I mean, I know the ladder.
Oh, I know that ladder.
I know that goddamn ladder real good. But like, it's not like they took any sexy bits out. Like, it's still readily available. It's right there for your enjoyment. And they just edited, from my knowledge, like 2 outfits, like lightly, mind you.
And it's sad because I feel like this whole conversation about the outfits and her body and whatnot, it took away from like what the game actually was. Like I still don't really even know.
Yeah, I mean, like I am interested in playing Stellar Blade for multiple reasons. But like, you know, like it looks like a fun game, and for like the longest time, I couldn't figure out what this game even was. And like I legit was looking, and all I could find were clips of this ladder and the discourse around like these like dudes who want to see more TNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what I was most interested in was that it's a Korean-based company, and I feel like we don't see that too often. I could be totally wrong. I could be a total just like fake gamer girl, but I feel like was the last time we had a major Korean.
Well, speaking as a fake gamer boy, I don't believe I've heard of like any major gaming developments coming out of Korea.
I know they have a big multiplayer, right? I know that, like multiplayer or like.
I think mobile. I think there's like a mobile gaming space out there, and not just in people playing mobile. I think like
it's a big
companies that make mobile games. I think a lot of them come from Korea. I could be very wrong, so
I honestly enlighten us.
Grain of salt here.
It's tknm@gmail.com. Enlighten us. We're not experts, but yeah, Stellar Blade. I mean, I agree with you. I definitely think we should play it. I am curious, just to see if it's just a good game. But it's funny how anything where it's just like this sexy woman, and it can't just be a sexy woman just existing. I feel like just let her rock. It would have been cool. Everyone would play the game. The discourse got bigger than the game. I feel like.
I genuinely feel like it did, because like, I mean, I remember when Nier Automata came out, people would not shut up about 2B. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, rightfully so. But like, I was never aware of this kind of discourse surrounding the game, where it's just like, oh, everybody's just hyper fixated on 2B's butt, and then nobody posts any clips of the game itself. Like it's very interesting.
That's the cops coming for you.
Yeah, they're coming.
But I don't know what to say. But that I guess it got released a week or 2 ago, so it's been out. There's some people who we like who enjoy it, so we trust their opinion. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
We recently returned from Canada, and we took a little trip. We went to a wedding up there. We met some people, and it was our first time in Canada. It was nice.
It was cool. A little prelude to events. We saw the CN Tower, or we called it the Drake Tower.
The Drake Tower. We were also a little rich in Canada. The dollar was actually doing better. So we went to a retro video game store, and we were like fighting the urge. There were like games that we were like, damn, this is actually on a discount.
Yeah.
But we didn't get anything, sadly. They didn't have. I was looking for like Silent Hill. They had like Luigi's Mansion. There was some stuff that I was interested in, but I was like, let me just
hold off.
Yeah, let me chill. Like,
there was this one dude. I was eyeing Metal Gear Solid 3, and I know it's like, how many copies do you own? I know. Hear me out though. I thought I saw a blue covered one. It looked blue, and I was like, well, I'm aware that they did like a limited edition red cover, which is actually worth a lot of fucking money, and they were only charging $80 for like this blue one, and I was like, I never heard of a blue one before. Like, I was like, is this like one of those lightning in a bottle things where like the store doesn't know what they have, and I'm like, oh, maybe I got this really rare thing here, and like I was trying to play it cool with the guy. I was like,
your hand is shaking.
Like, I was like, can I see that blue covered one real quick? And he took it out. It was very clear that this thing was just like sun bleached. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it just looks like it was sun bleached. Because like the spine was blue.
And everything else was just green.
Everything else was green. So it was very clear that like whoever had it was just like compacted in like a pile, and the sun just hit it in a way.
It was perfectly blue. Like in that, like you said, the spine was completely blue. So when you took the actual game out, it almost looked purposely done.
Yeah, and I was like, huh, all right, never mind then. And then like the guy was just like, well, it does look like it's really clean. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be.
You're like, okay.
And like he doesn't know who he's fucking talking to. I have a Metal Gear Solid podcast. I know the different editions.
He didn't know he was talking to T of Metal Gear University.
I know what kind of editions came. Okay,
like,
I just, if there was like a blue covered one, I'm like, that's interesting. And maybe, look, call me dumb, but maybe if the whole thing was sun bleached, maybe, because we were rich up there.
No, and it would have been a clean sun bleach too. Like,
yeah.
So it would have looked, but then it probably at that point just been like a fan edit.
Yeah, that's true. But I was just like, okay, that was the closest thing I came to buying something.
Yeah, I was looking at Luigi's Mansion because I guess I lost a copy at my parents' house. They can't find it. What else was there? They had some like decent stuff, and it was decently priced.
Yeah, they had some cool board games.
I know you're getting into Warhammer. Oh my god, yeah,
They didn't have any Warhammer shit there though.
I feel like that would have been too much to bring anyway. Like those.
No, I wouldn't have bought anything anyway.
They had a Bloodborne board game. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of curious.
Honestly, like save a tab for that.
Yeah,
we should look into that.
Because I'm really big into board games. We both are, and Bloodborne is.
I think they actually made a Dark Souls board game.
They should make it like a Dark Souls Monopoly. I don't know what it would be, but maybe jail is just like with the tarnished are.
Oh, that could be good. And then the money is your souls. Like it's just like your souls count. I guess I don't know. Yeah. That could be fun.
I would play that. Excuse me, but Canada's cool. We love Canada.
On the way there, Kay and I, we resisted taking the our private jet to Canada, so we decided to fly coach this time around. So we were flying, and we saw that there was this flight attendant, and they had like it looked like a basket of like Ruffles and like Doritos,
and like in our like lowly row, whatever, it's 18, whatever row we were in the back.
Yeah, we were way in the back.
So they give us like, you want some pretzels? And it's like fucking the airplane branded pretzels.
Yeah,
and like half a ginger ale.
And like the flight attendant was walking by, and then there was somebody in the aisle like across from us. They were like, "Hey, excuse me," and they were like, "Yes, can I get a Dorito, please?"
Yeah, I see the bag of Ruffles, and can I have one?
And I'm not even kidding to you. This flight attendant looked this motherfucker dead in the eye and was like, "This is for first class only." And Kay and I died of laughter in the next row.
I feel like the lady was like, "Oh, like, oh, okay."
It's like, are you kidding me? And like the whole flight, we were making like this joke of like, you don't have the refined palate to eat Cool Ranch Doritos.
You're too poor for Ruffles.
You don't understand the complexity of the packaging even. These expire 5 years from now.
I just can't imagine. Like, it just felt so. I felt poor in that moment because
like,
she just had the name brand stuff, and she was like, "Not for you guys, not for
like fucking I can go to fucking the corner store and get like a whole box of them for like $20,
but not on this flight.
Get the fuck out of here.
Also, can I talk about how Tom? Please tell me why this man, every time we take a flight or go to the airport, he wants to talk about 9/11.
I did not talk about 9/11.
Okay, first of all, yes, you. Okay.
When did I?
We were on the
Name
plane.
it.
We were on the plane, and we were getting ready to take off back to New York. And he looks at me. He's like, "The cockpit door is open," and he just ignited a new fear I never knew I had. He's like, "That's weird. It's open." And so the plane is getting ready to take off, and the door is open. And he's like, "They're very trusting." I'm like, "Tom, why would you say this?"
I just happen to know that after 9/11, one of the regulations that got passed was that once the plane is ready to take off, you close the cockpit door because that's how you stop a hijacking.
That's definitely So I get a little nervous with flying. I don't fly often, so I'm always nervous. And so now I have this new fear of just like me and him were pretending like we both were looking, and we were just every few minutes we like look at each other and then like look at the door and like not say anything. And right before takeoff, it closed, and I was like, "We're good.
We're good.
Now we're safe.
Now we're good."
But no, you have a habit every time, or we'll be in the fucking TSA line, and you're like, "I don't have a bomb in my pocket." I'm like,
I did not say that. When did I say you're pulling stuff out of your ass now?
No,
I didn't
Tom
say that.
always. You take a flight with him, he can't resist.
I
Maybe
didn't
joking about
say
a
that.
bomb,
No.
or a gun,
No.
or 9/11.
You're being crazy.
We don't talk about 9/11 at any other point than when we go on trips. And you know I'm fearful.
Name another time I brought up 9/11 at an airport.
You, what was the flight?
Name
to
another
Ohio.
time.
You spoke about 9/11 on the plane to Ohio.
When?
I'm gonna keep a journal. Of
Yeah, keep a journal because
Tom's 9/11 moments.
I'm suspicious.
I don't know.
9/11.
Speaking about someone's own 9/11, the Drake and Kendrick. That's terrible. We're from New York. We can say this.
That's fine. We can say it. It's fine.
We were in New York.
I was here when it happened. I actually was. I'm not traumatized though. I'm alright. Okay.
Anyway, this is terrible.
I'm sorry.
I mean, lastly, the main thing that's been really happening, the Drake versus Kendrick, back-to-back diss tracks. I don't even know where to begin. It's so fresh and new. At this point, all I can say is that Drake just needs to stop. Like, just Kendrick has more power. There's more
hatred in his heart. Like Drake is in this for the game. You know what I mean? Like he's in it just to be like an honorable fighter, and Kendrick wants to kill him.
No, and I feel like you can feel that with Drake made a whole music video and was acting in it, and it was a whole, it felt theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
And Kendrick was like, no, like you need to die. I think that was one of the lines.
Like
you need to die. I feel like if you're a hater, if you're listening to this and you're a hater of anything, you need to hate harder. I know we try to be about positivity, but like if you're gonna do something, do it with 100.
Let Kendrick be your inspiration. If you want to fall to the dark side, let Kendrick be your mentor, your guide, because this dude is diabolical. I remember when I remember like it was like 10 years ago, yesterday.
When it first started happening.
Yeah, like when Drake made his like little response video.
Yeah, Family Matters.
And I thought at the time, I was like, that wasn't as good like lyrically as Kendrick's diss, but he made a video to go with it. It was little. I was like, okay, that's a decent follow up. And then 15 minutes later, Kendrick just drops the most bomb of all bombs.
No, it's funny because it was late at night. We saw the video. You were like about to get ready for bed. You're like, wow, Kendrick just needs like. He's gonna release something soon. I know it. Okay, good night. And then Tom falls asleep. He falls asleep very quick. Mm-hmm. I woke you up. I was like, Tom, he dropped another one. You're like, what? It's like, it's been 15 minutes. He dropped another one.
I couldn't believe it.
That to me, he has more. He has more in the chamber, just waiting.
I guarantee you, with like the rapidness that he's releasing these, he must have been in the studio like months ago, just making all of these songs, and he has just like a whole roster. And
I'm telling you, they're probably all on YouTube or wherever else, and they're on private, and all he does is just go
public, and then that's it.
Because think about the quickness with which it was released.
15 minutes? That's insane.
So
that means like Drake released it, and then 15 minutes later, that must have been when Kendrick just heard it, and he was like, oh, he released something? Okay. Fire the next shot, and then that's it.
So like, I know this man has more, and I don't know if it was. It's if you haven't seen it, it's since we're all not involved in it, it's really fun. Go check it out. They're saying a lot. There's a lot of really big claims, but
the pure hatred in this man's heart.
I think that's it's like this level of beef hasn't been seen in many years.
Wow.
And it's like now it's direct. Like before, they were like throwing shots, and it was like
a Cold War almost.
It was a Cold War.
And now it's a hot one. It's on.
They're just like by name. My man, oh my God, he had his medic. You gotta look into it.
Oh my God, wait. Okay. So, Kendrick released the Euphoria, which was a very crazy diss track, and then he released this other one
about that.
Yeah, and then 616, where it wasn't as good as Euphoria, but it was just him saying like, "I have a mole, he's in the room with you right now, and he's telling me everything," and then this one comes out. What is it? Graham?
Oh my God. Meet the Grams.
Meet the Grams. And the cover art is literally shit that is in Drake's house. It's Drake's personal items.
I mean, yeah, at the bare minimum, it's his personal items. So it was like pill bottles he had. It was like a prescription of Ozempic. It was just
like that. Oh. Yeah. That's evil. Like, holy, oh my God. I can't imagine being Drake right now.
Yeah, that's rough. And it's like we just came back from Canada. We're like, oh, Toronto's nice. And I'm like, oh my God.
We just imagine the streets of Toronto right now. They're just like
it's like that moment in
pandemonium.
Yeah, just honestly. Oh my God. No, it's literally this morning we've just been talking about it. Everything dropped last night. So maybe while we're recording this, something else will drop.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Just I don't know what else could be done. I think that's it. I feel like it was a busy week, but we spent a lot of the time too reading this 300-page book by Nastasha. It was good. That was a good read, I would say.
Yeah, it was very well written. I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It didn't feel like 300 pages. I think if it was actually a book, I think it'd be like around 50 or so.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay. You ready to talk about the book?
Yeah. But first.
Oh, you got it.
I got you this time.
You're learning.
I'm finally getting it. After how many episodes? I'm finally getting it.
I know it's been a minute. What time is it?
It's time for a pop quiz.
Woo! So, for the pop quiz tea, do you want to read all of them? What's your preference?
Let's do tit for tat.
Got you. As always, we have 5 questions. And we figured we'd base them on the previous episode. So they're going to be questions based on the George Franklin book? George Franklin?
George Franklin's review column.
Yep. And then also Gary McGolden's book. So these questions are based on the last episode. So if you haven't heard it yet, definitely go back and check it out. And also too, maybe we'll put it again. We'll put the Game FAQ link so if you want to read it for yourself. Anyway, T, you may go first.
Okay. Question number 1. Who was the author of the shocking conspiracy behind Shadow Moses?
That would be Gary McGolden.
You are correct.
Thank you. Fantastic little book. That book was actually quite hilarious.
It was very funny.
Big shout out to Survivor Type on Twitter. Check them out. He might have created the only Gary McGolden fan art on the internet, I think.
Yeah, Survivor Type, if you're out there, take that title right now. Because I genuinely think you might have drawn the only photo of Gary McGolden.
And, if anything, the first. Because, maybe people will start making stuff now.
That's true.
But fantastic. Anyway, Survivor Type, thank you. Gary McGolden. Thank you. Question number 2. George Franklin held a book review column in what newspaper?
Ooh. He held a column in the New York Mirror.
You are correct.
Ah.
These are really some deep cut questions now that I'm thinking about them.
Yeah, these are actual questions and not fun ones. We usually put 1 or 2 fun ones in here.
This one is, it's funny because all these are canon. This is within Metal Gear Solid 2.
That's true.
Okay, correct.
Thank you.
Your turn.
Yes. What 2 other conspiracies did George Franklin compare Shadow Moses to?
George Franklin compared Shadow Moses to the grassy knoll and Roswell.
Correct. Bonus points. If you could say what the grassy knoll and Roswell are.
Okay, I just learned what the grassy knoll was recently.
Okay.
So the grassy knoll was apparently the location where people hypothesize a second shot came from that hit JFK.
Mm-hmm.
And Roswell is Area 51.
Correct.
Okay.
You did it again.
Thank you. That was we definitely didn't write that one down. Everything else we did.
I just thought it would be fun.
No, it was cool. I didn't realize there was a name for like that little section of the hill. And
Yeah, I don't know why it's called the grassy knoll. I just know that that's what it is. But fun fact. People thought that that's where John F. Kennedy Jr. was going to emerge.
all the Q people.
Yeah, all the Q dudes went down there and they were like, his son's going to show up where his father died. Because that makes sense. Anyway.
That sounds so like that's like beyond conspiracy. It's almost like
a religion at that.
Yeah, it's giving big cult energy. JFK Jr. Is that what they said was coming?
Yeah, JFK Jr.
Wasn't he the one, the pilot?
That died in the airplane crash, yeah.
Oh my god. But wasn't he a Democrat at that point too?
Yeah.
I mean, back then, yeah, it was a little bit more
yeah,
blurry.
but like I don't think he would have agreed with Trump in any case. But anyway, we're getting a little off topic.
Sorry. My turn.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question number 4. What type of plane was Jim Houseman aboard during Shadow Moses? During Shadow Moses. I don't know why. Sorry.
Number 4. What type of plane was Jim Houseman aboard during Shadow Moses?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't know why I got into that voice.
This is a very giggly quiz.
It's a very giggly quiz. I don't know why I got into that cadence. We did watch a YouTube video before this.
That's true.
Sometimes I don't know. Please, what's the answer?
Jim Houseman was aboard an E3C AWACS airplane.
AWACS. Correct.
You're welcome.
I'm
I'm sorry.
I'm getting off track. Okay. Last and final question. Question number 5. I'm like really trying to not do the voice.
Mm-hmm.
What was the official story that the U.S. government released about Shadow Moses?
The official story was that a far right-wing group took over the Shadow Moses facility, and there was a coup there, and then the U.S. government sent in like a squad, and then they cleared it out, and then that was it. Yeah,
it was like they acknowledged something happened, but it was very much like, it was quick and simple. We took care of it. There wasn't a lot of fanfare behind it.
Yeah, there wasn't any threat of nuclear war. None of that.
No mention of Metal Gear.
Nothing.
Correct, T.
Mm-hmm.
As always, 5 out of 5. 100%.
All right.
And I imagine everybody listening gets the same. Because we never get any questions, or we never get any responses like, oh, that question's wrong. Or like, you guys are wrong. I'm scared to get it one day. But we'll accept it with arms wide open.
If you look at our orientation episode, we have a 80% success rate. So we acknowledge that we might get some stuff wrong. So if we do, don't freak out.
Also, like, let us know. Like, this is supposed to be...
Oh, yeah. And let us know.
This is, like, supposed to be a collective journey type thing. We're all here learning. This is for the fun and the love of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to say that I know a lot about Metal Gear. But I'm willing to accept that I might be wrong. And if I am, let me know. Like, I genuinely... This is like an area where I want to know. So if I'm wrong, let me know. You know?
As always, for any kind of things like that, any questions, comments, concerns, you want to show some love, send us an email at itstkandm@gmail.com. That is ITSTKANDM@gmail.com. For those of you who've sent emails, we've appreciated. We read through all of them. We are very grateful. Very exciting. We have some cool works in the plans. We had one person that was very sweet ask for merch. I don't know if we're there yet. If people want merch, you can email us. We'll do a little short thing. Tom has actually been working on just a mock up for us to wear at like conventions, just because we want a shirt.
Yeah.
But let us know if there's if we get a couple, I will, one, be shocked, and two, we'll think about it.
We'll see. We'll see.
But T, are you ready to discuss this 300-page book?
Oh, I'm ready.
You ready?
Oh yeah.
Let's start the episode.
So, unlike other episodes where we go through like the narrative like beat by beat, this is more of like a book review episode where we'll still be breaking down certain aspects, but this is more like we read the book and this is what we think.
And I mean, for those who've read it and for those who are curious in general, Nastasha basically just retells the events of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah, it's just from her point of view.
Literally, it's a retelling of the moment before she like calls Snake to introduce herself, and then a little bit of like maybe a few months after Shadow Moses.
Yeah.
So it's honestly, there's a lot of it where it's kind of like, it feels like one of those YouTube videos where it's like, tell me what happened in Final Fantasy Remake. Like give me like a 10-minute review.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that. But her book, there's some really good moments in this book. I will say I really enjoyed reading it.
Yeah. It does a really good job at retelling the events of the first game and then also building the world of the second game. I mean, it was already done previously in the New York Mirror and the Shocking Conspiracy, but this one it just has a little bit more of a oomph to it because it's like someone's firsthand account of the events.
And I think too, what's important with this book is that after Metal Gear Solid 1, we don't see Nastasha ever again.
Yeah, I think she's just on the run for the rest of the series.
So this is kind of the second kind of place that she's in, and I don't know, it's building her character up, because otherwise if you don't call her a lot on the codec, if you don't really pay attention to what she's saying in her main codex.
Yeah, and you could go through the entire game without calling her once. I've done that like multiple times. Like not just because it's not because I don't like her. It's just that like you're playing the game. I've played it so many times and I've listened to the codex so many times where I'm just like, oh yeah, I know what she's gonna say anyway.
And like she's part of like your Nest team, but she's not part of like the main crew. The main crew you would say is like Snake, Colonel,
Miller, Naomi.
So like she's not part of that main core group.
Yeah, she doesn't call you. Like I don't think she ever calls you.
So to me, that really kind of just shows like this book is giving. It's kind of showing just actually how much more she's involved, especially considering who else is in this book.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're saying with Nastasha, this book basically begins and it's kind of, she's a forward where she dedicates it to Richard Ames, who I'm sad I didn't look at it before this video, but we meet Richard Ames in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, he is the prisoner with the pacemaker.
And at that point, I mean, that's the first time we meet him, no?
Yeah.
He's a major character in this book.
I would argue that he is like one of the main orchestrators behind Metal Gear Solid 1. He's like the guy that's above Jim Houseman even.
So Nastasha dedicates this book to him. We come to learn that she was in her home. She's basically like a nuclear analyst? I forgot.
Military analyst. But like I think she specializes in nuclear weapons, I believe.
Yeah, she's like totally against like nukes. She's like super heavy against, like I think this book itself shows just how much she's like anti-war, anti-nuclear, like anti-Metal Gear essentially.
Yeah.
So she's at her home, which she states is like heavily guarded. She's like, she's a freelance worker. She prefers that. She's like writing up her reports and like she hears a doorbell ring. She was like, I'm in LA. It's probably some like Rugrats.
Some weirdos or something. So
she's like, I have a security system. Let me go see who it is. She goes. There's no one there. So she's like, okay. She goes back to her office. She goes to type some more for her job. And she hears a voice behind her. And it's Richard Ames.
Rude. Very rude. I don't care if you're my friend. You're not sneaking in my house.
First of all, how did you sneak in with a full business suit? Like he sneaks in and he's like all dressed to the
Yeah,
nines.
did he hop the fence? Like, what did he do?
That's what I'm saying. Like he came in all
Why is it just like he just never turned in his spare key?
well. That's a good point because we find out that that's her ex-husband. They were married,
Mm-hmm.
which is random. I feel like we are given so much more about Nastasha in this book, and I hate to say it now, but I feel like reading this book before Metal Gear Solid 2 would have, I think, ruined major points of the game.
Yeah, because you would know that Ames was a much bigger character. Like, I don't think it would have spoiled too many twists, but like I feel like reading Shadow Moses after playing the game is more ideal.
Richard Ames is at Nastasha's home. I mean, their exes. He's not coming by to like grab his stuff or say anything. He's bringing her on to this secret mission, and the secret mission is Metal Gear Solid 1.
Mm-hmm.
He wants her to be a member on Snake's team. And so not only is he in her home, but he was like, okay, boys. And like they set up his whole satellite system.
Yeah, there's like a whole crew, and they set up like satellites and a bunch of computers. And she says that like her living room just looks like a control center now.
And at this point, she's like, I'll help. It's funny because she's like, she goes along with it. And like when you play, of course, Metal Gear Solid 1, she's friendly. But I wonder if there was really this kind of like coercion fear behind it. That is her man, but like she's aware her man is, really high
in
level.
the know. Yeah.
Exactly. So we kind of, this image is being built of Nastasha in her home with all this like work from home setup, and that's where she's calling Snake from somewhere in LA, while he's in Alaska fighting for his life. I think what's cool is that we also get the impression, like there's no visuals to anything. Like, we get the codec and we see their picture and, but she's only getting audio.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that's happened to Snake, she goes into detail about like hearing the torture, hearing Liquid, so I don't know, you really got that feeling of dread on her end of just like not being able to.
Yeah, like it's like this distant thing far away that you're trying to help someone in, and you feel powerless,
Mm-hmm.
A thing that I thought was a little funny, and this isn't really like a narrative thing, but a thing that I thought was interesting was the book goes through great lengths to tell you that Nastasha was like coerced and like forced to do this job, and she's like, oh God, fine, I'll do it.
Do I really have a choice? Yeah,
like she in the book, she's very much like very abrasive about this whole thing. And I have this visual of her sitting down and she's like, and then she picks up the receiver for this radio. She clicks it on, and then you just hear,
"This is Nastasha Romanenko. A pleasure to work with you, Solid Snake. You are the nuclear specialist that the Colonel mentioned." "That's me. You can ask me anything about nukes that you want. I am also
and I don't want to say that that's wrong. I'm just like,
no one ever said she had to stop being a bad bitch.
I mean, true. I just find it funny that like I just this visual of her just in like a room full of like random dudes and her ex-husband, and she's like, all right, you want me to be a part of this mission? All right, I'm gonna turn Snake on right now. I'm gonna turn him on.
Oh, my ex is here? Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, Snake.
Yeah, let me just make him jealous real quick.
I mean, again, I feel like she's just a bad bitch. Like, I feel like, too, we hear her inner monologue, but she gave the impression that she was just not bothered by anything. Like, Richard Ames, she would ask him questions, she would talk to him, but they were just, like, they were trying to, like, play coy to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But Richard Ames was with Nastasha the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah, he might as well have been sitting right next to her the whole time.
Which, to me, is interesting. Like, I can imagine that. I mean, he, like you said, he basically planned the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't know any better while I was reading this book and I didn't know a lot about the lore, I would be under the impression, at least over midway through, to be like, oh, Ames is definitely a patriot.
Mm-hmm.
Ames is a patriot.
No, he must be. And especially too, as Nastasha was going through the game, she was asking him questions about like, what's the point of Snake doing this? Why are people dropping dead of heart attacks? And Ames just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry about it. You know what? This is actually better that they're dying, so Snake can continue his mission.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. I remember there was a quote. Hold on. I have like a note here that I wrote down.
Yeah, we wrote so many notes.
Okay. So I made this note. I feel at this point, this is after Kenneth Baker died from Fox Die. I wrote down, I feel at this point Ames knows about Fox Die. Anderson's death could have been an accident, but with Baker dying too in the same manner, that should give him some pause. Him also saying, and this is a direct quote from the book, Ames says, it may have been for the best anyway. Having to babysit a senior citizen with a broken arm sure wasn't going to help Snake with his mission. And that just made me think his original mission was to rescue Donald Anderson and Kenneth Baker. So if Ames is admitting to the fact that Snake is going to be babysitting them and hindering his mission, it's almost like they're supposed to die. You know?
Yeah. Nastasha references a couple times in the book that her and Snake should have been able to. She kind of like states she feels bad that she didn't realize the lies that were being told to her in the moment. She says, Snake and I should have seen it. Should have seen it coming. And I think that was one point. Like she kind of brushes over that when Richard Ames says that. But before, she's like, she was thinking about the satellites and she's thinking about this whole setup. And she's like, why is this the best for like she's just like questioning things but never pushing. And I think too, for having everybody in her home like that, having Richard Ames being there, not giving her the full information, I think she realizes like too, like just how delicate her life is.
Yeah. And I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like it's a common thing, especially with like con artists, where like they try to distract you by changing the situation very rapidly, and it puts you into like almost like a state of confusion where you just kind of like do as you're told.
I mean, it's similar to Metal Gear Solid 2 and Raiden. Basically, just when you're getting the grasp of one thing, you're thrown into something else.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, I mean, she was she was on Snake's team, and there's points where she said she feels for him and she wants to help him more, but everything's new to her too. So she's like having these high operatives watch her, and she knows that part of her role is to keep this guy alive, the guy she's on the phone with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think too, like you said, the moving goalpost, constantly changing the story. Just she's very vulnerable. It kind of seems similar to that other episode we did. Well, I guess talking about Raiden, how like you when he was a child, they like made they fed him gunpowder and make him very susceptible to like
to do extreme actions that he probably wouldn't have done otherwise. Yeah, it's a similar kind of aspect. But damn.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nastasha's goal for her involvement with Snake, especially like once they found out it's a Metal Gear, she again very anti nuke, anti just like mass destruction. And I think she feels a part of her role in life is to stop that. That's the stuff that she does in her freelance work. That's what she does with Snake right now in his Nest team. And then even too, she kind of comments on other people's responsibilities. I think even writing this book she felt it was her responsibility.
Yeah, she views this as like a way to fight back, because like she said at the end of the book that she felt powerless where she was during the first game, and she wanted to be able to strike back, and this was like her way of doing that.
Yeah, there's a quote in the book, and I think it's in the foreword, where she says, I want to expose the government for what they are. The quote that she says is, I want to free the coming generations from the damnosa heredis of the 20th century nuclear arms race. Damnosa heredis is basically an inheritance that is more of a burden than a benefit. And I got that from this website called LSD Law. So basically, it's like you receive something that costs more than it's worth.
I see.
So I guess like in terms like the nuclear arms race, like, yeah, you're getting this weapon to protect yourself, but it's causing a bigger issue in the grand scheme of things. And she just, yeah, again, I think that feeling of helplessness made her feel this like larger responsibility after the game. There's a point too where she speaks about Otacon, and I think it's pretty.
Yeah.
It was a good moment for her character too, just kind of like how serious she takes everything.
Yeah, she's when Otacon has his monologue towards Snake on how he feels like he's being taken advantage of as a scientist. Nastasha is like, no, I'm a hater. No.
She's like, no, you should have known that. Like, you're a scientist. You need to understand where your research might go.
Mm-hmm.
You can't feign ignorance and be like, I didn't know they were going to do that. Or like, I didn't know it was like, she's like, your responsibility is to be on top of that. So she's like, she's like, call me, I forgot what she said, but she's like, call me whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't pity him.
Now, do you think, I'm getting a little meta here, because, obviously Nastasha didn't write the book. It was like either Kojima or his team of writers. Do you think that Nastasha's criticism of Otacon is like a reflection on how Kojima and or other developers feel about scientists in general?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like this is a Japanese development team. And so we understand what happened in World War II.
Yeah.
And then sadly, of course, we also know how big America is and just in general. And like, I feel like whenever we go somewhere that's not America, people know about American news and politics. So, I mean, I feel like that definitely could be an on the nose reference to like, if you're going to be this really big, if you're going to be a researcher, a scientist in military, like your stuff is bigger than you.
Yeah, and the things that you build will probably be used to kill people down the line.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that's affecting generations beyond what you can even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, there's like you said, I think with all of Kojima's games and Metal Gear, it's this larger narrative of just like what you do affects others. I guess just very simply.
Yeah. What
you do affects others. And sometimes you have a larger role in things than you may think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great question.
But that's breaking the narrative here. That was a meta thing.
I mean, this is the point. This is essentially a book club right now.
That's true.
What did I want to bring up? I feel like the inclusion of Nastasha and Aim's relationship, I wonder if that was like, okay, towards the end of the book, can we just jump to it?
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of like dancing around.
So again, we originally know Richard Ames in Metal Gear Solid 2. He is the one with the pacemaker. What was his role in Metal Gear Solid 2? Can you remind me, please?
His role in Metal Gear Solid 2 was more or less to be like a proxy for either Donald Anderson or Kenneth Baker, because like they both died of a heart attack. So the Patriots used Ames's nanomachines to shut down his pacemaker, mimicking a heart attack.
And did he know he was gonna die? Was it similar to like Donald Anderson with DARPA chief?
You see, that's a great question. I feel like he must have been aware of the simulation, but maybe he figured out what it exactly was at the moment of his death. Because like, as he was dying, like his last words was like, "Oh, you tricked me, Ocelot. So like, I think he knew it was a simulation, but not to the degree that it was going.
And like, what his role was, essentially.
What his role exactly was.
Because of course, he passes away in Metal Gear Solid 2. He's murdered. And in this one, The fact that Nastasha releases this book, she knows she's going to be at risk of being murdered. Like, she's going to she's dropping a lot of information and it's all factual.
She basically Edward Snowdened herself.
She has 2 optical discs. We remember from even Gary McGovern's book. It's the information on the one disc has Metal Gear, the information on like the existence of it, its schematics, all that stuff. The identity of all the perpetrators. It has like the major players in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Mm.
And then the other disc was Project Foxdie.
Yeah, it's basically the blueprints for the virus.
And like basically how to cover up the whole, like it was essentially like that whole like plan. So we find out that those 2 optical discs, Richard Ames gives her the Project Foxdie. She, while she's working with Snake and doing, being part of the Nest team, she's also secretly recording stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, she records everything and sends it to a publisher she works with. And she's like, she comes out the bathroom at one point. She's like, Ames, I have kept a record of everything that's happened here. I've been recording everything. Once this is over, I'm leaking it. This is outrageous. It's a Metal Gear. I can't believe it. I can't believe you wouldn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you mean this information?
And he was like, you silly bitch.
Yeah, he was like, any information that comes in and out of this home is recorded and intercepted. So like the email you just sent, no, you didn't. We stopped it and I have all the information here.
Can you imagine, like, like she really thought she had something on him. And then Ames, in return, like got that email and he was like, oh, she thinks she got me.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it cool. I'm going to play it real cool.
Played cool in her own home.
Wow.
And I think the saddest part for me, I gasped, was he was like, no, you didn't win. He reaches into his pocket and she's like, oh, this is it. He walks towards her. She's like walking backwards. Her back is pressed against the wall. He reaches into his like pocket, pulls out another disc. But before she sees what it is, she closes her eyes.
She's like, just gotta. I mean, what can she do at this point?
She literally is against the wall. She sees his hand go in his pocket. She closes her eyes and she said it's silence for a moment. And then she opens it and it's another disc. And he's like, this disc is actually gonna keep you safe. Here you go. I think it's funny though that he probably was like, I got her. I got this bitch. I got to see the in front of her, and she's just like,
I'm gonna spook her a little bit.
Yeah, just standing in silence, like, damn, Richard. But he is essentially the reason why Gary McGovern knows about Metal Gear. Basically, the internet knows about Metal Gear. I can imagine this disc that Nastasha has was like, Otacon got possession of it. Like, this is the reason why the internet knows about Metal Gear and Foxdie and whatnot. And it's because of Ames.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, I'm curious your opinion. Do you think Richard Ames gave her that second disc, Project Foxdie, to allow the world to know what's going on? Or was it just a safety net for Nastasha?
At the risk of sounding contrarian, I think it's both.
A non-answer.
A perfect non-answer. Because non-answer, yes. But like, I feel like it does work both ways. Like it both keeps Nastasha safe because towards the end of the book, she threatened, oh, if anything were to happen to me, my people will release this disc. And Ames was like, they're not going to believe that. It's just going to be another conspiracy theory that's posted online. Like, it'll be one of thousands.
Mm-hmm.
No one will believe you. Until he gives her that Foxdie disc, which is something that's like concrete.
And like, by giving it to her, though, he's almost kind of solidified his own death.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like the Patriots would not know.
Oh, they would totally know that it was Ames.
Oh, also, there's mad people in that room that are also helping with this mission and helping with the communications.
I'm willing to bet that him being in Metal Gear Solid 2 as like that, almost like a sacrificial lamb sort of deal. I think that was like his punishment.
For giving her the disc.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I mean, it makes me think of like the larger idea of like, why was she included in general? Richard Ames personally went to her home. Think about the people who were on site were you had Snake in Alaska. You had Miller in a different place in Alaska, right? You had Colonel in
Colonel Naomi and Mei Ling, I believe they were all on the submarine together.
Yeah, they were all together. So to think about like they brought in Nastasha, and part of me is like, did Ames do that purposely? Like, who'll be good for this? My ex-wife.
Maybe.
Because at that point, I mean, she's very skilled, but she's just like a freelancer.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, I don't know how readily available the blueprints of Fox Die are on the internet, but I would imagine that they would be a little tricky to get a hold of, especially if you have other agents of the Patriots in front of you. So I am hypothesizing that he must have uploaded the data onto a disk beforehand and waited for a good time to give the disk to Nastasha.
It's interesting because, with the Patriots, I feel like every person that we know that's been affiliated with the Patriots, at some point, they try to revolt. You think about Saldus. You think about
Raiden to some degree. He failed, but he
I'm
tried.
thinking of people like specifically tied to it. Like I guess Saldus, and then I'm blanking right now. But essentially, like Richard Ames is in this book. He says the Patriots by name. Like he is deeply involved with them. When he speaks to Jim Houseman, he's the one that actually calls off the.
Yeah, it wasn't the president. It was Ames that called off the airstrike.
And when after Jim Houseman initially calls for the airstrike, Richard Ames speaks to him, and he's like, "They won't like that." And even in the novel, "they" is in quotes. So, it's very apparent they're called the Patriots by name. So it's very apparent that he's an agent of them. But to like it almost, I don't know. To me, I'm always getting this image of like that this is his journey to like stand up against them. And I think too, Nastasha understands that he passes away, so because this book is dedicated to him. Yeah.
After the events of Shadow Moses, Nastasha tries to find Ames in I believe the Department of Defense or the intelligence agency, wherever he works.
DOD.
Thank you. Yeah, Department of Defense. Anyway, she tries to get in contact with him, and people there are like, "Yeah, that guy doesn't exist here. We don't know who you're talking about."
Yeah, he's never worked here.
And that's like, they got him.
Yeah.
They got him.
And I think she immediately goes on the run after that. Because I can imagine she's asking for him. People are like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, Richard, I bet you Richard Ames is like a code word in Patriot circles to be like, "We got a Richard Ames on aisle 5. Yeah. And then they just go dash into the bread aisle, you know?
Just to murk somebody down there. But yeah, no, Richard Ames dies. Nastasha, we don't hear from her ever again. Like you said, I can imagine she's just alive somewhere hiding. But, this book I think was really, it's definitely something that should be read after, because I think the contents of this book, the Patriots, hearing about Ames, it adds more I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is better when you go in completely without any knowledge of what's about to happen.
Same.
This one's giving you too much, I think. It's already giving you this impression of like it's a secret, shadowy organization above the president. Like it was referenced, I think, like a bit maybe in Metal Gear Solid 1, like a throwaway line. Like after Jim Houseman, it's like I don't know. I feel like it was like a throwaway line. I could be remembering wrong, but this one specifically references
the Patriots. Yeah.
So I feel like if you were to read it beforehand, you're already primed for some kind of twist, some kind of bigger bad than Saldus. And I think it's worth a read to get more of a read for Nastasha.
I couldn't agree more. I think that it really builds up her character, and it's a wise move to use her because she's a character in Metal Gear Solid that, like I said earlier, you could completely skip past. And her passion for weapons and her passion for being against nuclear war. I mean, I hope everybody's against nuclear war.
Yeah.
But her personal goals are like a really like strong narrative choice to have her write this book.
No, that is a good point. Like, she is the perfect person to release this. She was part of the core team. We never see her again in the series. And like you said, she's kind of like this military nuclear analyst. So
like she's already in the know for a lot of things.
So
you know?
it fits. I would say so there's a couple of things we want to mention before we end this episode. We'll probably be another half hour talking about it.
Yeah, we wrote down like, let's just write this down real quick. And then we have like fucking 9 points.
But again, I feel like we really enjoyed this book. It was definitely an easy read. It's really sad, and I could be wrong about this, but it's locked behind Metal Gear Solid 2. There's no official book of it. I would love to have it in a physical copy, like some merch.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like a little pamphlet type thing.
Or the voice actor for Nastasia doing like an audio book version. How cool would that be?
Yeah, that would be amazing. It's definitely worth a read, and I think honestly, of the three, it's the best. Like, the book review was cute. It was just like if it built the world around Metal Gear. The Gary McGolden story was really cute, but I feel like this one was the one where it's like, wow, like, so that's how she felt. This is kind of where she was physically. This is her backstory, and especially from a character that we never see again. I think it was a perfect choice having her be the writer.
I think so too.
But yes, T, we have a couple of points that we wanted to relay before we end. The first point, you actually brought this up to me due to your knowledge of the series. T was reading the book. We read it separately just so we can get our own ideas for it. And he was reading kind of Nastasia recounting, the plot points of the game. She was basically listing specific quotes, and you notice that the quotes of characters were off a little bit.
Yeah, like a lot of the time the quotes were like wrong. Like I wrote down a couple of instances. Like it's littered throughout the entire book, but one instance is in the book. They have this quote that states, "Stealth camouflage. Someone left the job only half done. As for you, we'll continue this later." And obviously everybody who is listening, it's like, stealth camouflage. Can't you even die, right? You were lucky. We'll meet again.
So same core message, but not the exact language.
Yeah, and then there's like another instance. I wrote it down when it happened. Gray Fox's dying words were edited as well. So in the game, everybody knows that Gray Fox says, "Snake, we're not tools of the government or anyone else. Fighting was the only thing I was good at, but at least I always fought for what I believed in. Snake, farewell." The book version. "Snake, we're not tools of politicians and generals. All I did with my life was fight, but at least it was my choice. Goodbye, Snake."
That's very different.
Ew. Ew. I hate that.
Wait, why do you hate it?
It just sounds wrong.
It's funny, though, that you were reading the book and then every points you're like, that's not what he said.
Yeah, that's not what he said. That's not what he fucking said.
It's a similar message, though.
Yeah, but like that's the funny thing. Like everything was different, but the connotation was the same. Like nothing really changed, but like it was still different. You know what I mean?
So my question to you, I have two theories.
Okay.
One, do you think it was a translation issue? So people just doing a good enough translation from Japanese to English? If this was written initially in English. Or two, do you think it's just Nastasia not remembering it correctly?
I don't know. It could, man, I don't know. Because like I pulled up the script and the script backed up the game's recounting of the events. But I'm not sure if the script that I had available was the script that was made like around the game in mind, you know? Or like what's the original script say?
True. Like we don't have the specifics on like how this book by Nastasha was made. We don't know if it was made originally in Japanese. We don't know if it was like translate. You know what I mean? Like we don't have the specifics on like how it was created.
But even so, if it was a translation issue, there should have been like an English language team that matched up the book quotes with the game quotes.
I mean, especially with how thorough they are. I mean, this game is very thorough. So
And that's what's surprising. You know what I mean?
So it's either a mistake or it was intentionally done. And if it was intentionally done, why would it have been done?
Okay. Since a mistake is very quickly written off, let's assume that it was intentionally done, just for a fun conversation. It could be like a reference to things becoming distorted over time. Like, you know, like a
like
game.
Nastasha's memory or?
Yeah. I mean, she remembered, obviously, pretty much as accurate as you can. But a person who's remembering what Nastasha said is going to remember things differently. Like telephone, you know, like somebody says something to another person, then that person says it to another person, then another, and then you get 10 people in, it turns into completely something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this could be like a motif on ideas becoming distorted over time. But like that's not really like the theme of Metal Gear Solid 2. So
I mean, it could be a theme of Metal Gear Solid 2 for me was what information is passed on. Like, what is important to pass on, and how do you pass it on?
That's true.
So I think if this was done intentionally, it could be Nastasha may not remember it exactly, but she remembers the feeling.
She remembers the feeling.
The core of it.
And the lessons involved.
Mm-hmm. So it's not perfect, but it's... she's preserving that in time through her memory.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could be kind of like this really large meta thing of like, wasn't a theme also too like your own personal view being your own personal truth?
That's true.
So maybe this is her own personal truth, how she took his words.
Wow. That's very true. You changed my mind. Yeah, that's probably it.
I mean, I'm leaning towards it being a mistake, and not to say that the team, I'm not inferring or stating that they're like lazy or they didn't like have enough time, but I think it was it's literally just a recap story of the Metal Gear Solid 1. So I can't imagine them being like, let's make sure it's 100%. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, she's just writing her book. Maybe it could be something as simple as the editor made those changes, because this got published through an editor.
That's true.
So maybe the editor was like, this sounds better.
Could be anything. It could be anything. What's another thing you want to bring up?
That was a really big one. I like that one a lot, though.
Yeah.
If you have any ideas, let us know, because I'm curious. Honestly, I'm curious of people's point of view on this. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of people reading this book online from our general search. Like, there's people who've done like live readings on Twitch, and there's people who've a while back on Game FAQ spoke about it. But I'd love to hear people now your view on this. But something else we wanted to mention was we learned that the Pentagon has basically a black budget. To me, that's like a secret fund, right, for secret projects.
Yeah.
And essentially, Nastasha had heard of a rumor that there was a new type of battleship that was being kind of envisioned by this chief of naval operations. So he was like, oh, I want to make this battleship. But sadly, he had passed away. He
quote unquote passed away.
Quote unquote passed away. And that rumor went nowhere. Mm-hmm. But if we're thinking, okay, the chief of naval operations talking about a battleship,
that has to be Arsenal. And they got to be talking about Arsenal gear.
And especially if it's like some Pentagon, like secret hush-hush, like budget stuff. Like, okay, that's a reference to what we see in Metal Gear Solid 2, which is cool.
And how do you... That man had in many respects, a terrible idea, because he envisioned this crazy fucking thing. But like, imagine like someone on your team that's like, I have a great idea. And then you look at it and you're like, wow, that is a good idea. Let's kill him. Like,
No, I was just thinking that. Like, it must be so scary to work for the Pentagon in the Metal Gear Solid universe because people are just dying left and right. Your coworkers are going missing. They're dying mysteriously. Like,
and then like your idea is like, oh, I'll know what I'll do. I'll make schematics and an idea so good that they'll want to keep me around. That's how I'll live.
he knows too much.
And then he knows, Ka!
So it's. I feel like working in the government. It's you. It must be a power thing because it can't have been a money thing. I don't think it's enough money to. I think it is a power thing. You think about Jim Houseman, you think about Solidus, you think about even Ames. They were all people who were making moves, and they seemed to enjoy it. It was all good until
they were the ones being controlled. Yeah.
So, but Arsenal Gear mentioned in this little book.
Another point is that Ames and Naomi were apparently like a thing.
Ames is.
He's getting around, man.
I'm trying to remember how he looked. Did he have long hair? I'm like confusing him with that guy.
He had a mullet.
I'm confused. Wait, what?
Ames had a mullet.
How many years after Metal Gear Solid 1? Who is this guy? Is the actual guy?
There's an actual Richard Ames.
He's the Minister of the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure of New Brunswick. I think he knows something. Since 20. Anyway, Ames. Oh, yes. He had a mullet. Yeah. Wow. He really. Wow. He was getting around. What was the number of years between Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2?
Oh, like 4 years?
You think he had the mullet the whole time? You think the mullet was the point for Naomi and Nastasha?
I think. Because, like, there were moments in this book where, like, Nastasha was, like, getting a little, a little flirty with Snake. Mm-hmm. And Ames was like, hey.
Yeah, he was getting a little jealous.
So, like, I was thinking that, like, he didn't have a mullet until after this book.
Because
of Snake. And he was like, it's the mullet. It's got to be the mullet. It pulls them in.
He was trying to be.
So I'll grow my own mullet.
He's like, if I can't be a genome soldier with his genes, I'll look like him. Damn. Wow. So he's just trying to.
He's trying to imitate greatness.
And it's funny because Nastasha didn't even see, like, Snake. I don't think she knows really how he looks. So he was just like...
She just fell for the voice.
The voice. He's like, just maybe the mullet will kick it. Like, maybe it'll do something.
It'll up my powers.
But what's I feel like even sad to that point is that, like, I feel like him and Nastasha had some feelings for each other. It was said in the book that they were both very passionate people. It's just they butt heads a lot.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, their divorce was kind of bad. Like, they just didn't even... They divorced without even seeing each other.
It was just all through paperwork and letters and stuff.
So I feel like it's one of those things where, like, the passion is there, but it's just you're not a good couple. So the thing with Naomi, however, was she literally just used him to get into the Fox Die program. Like, she basically just she used him.
Yeah.
Because at one point they were like, "Were you?" Nastasha's like, "Were you and Naomi a thing?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah." But she we didn't stay together. So she had the power in that she was making all the moves, and she was smart because it's what got her into.
That's how she was able to enact her little plan.
So, and he didn't see it, but I mean, when you're, I feel like
he was thinking not with his head on his shoulders.
So that's why so smart. Except she got him.
She got him.
So funny. What else? Oh, again, this book is it's 300 pages, but if you were thinking like an actual physical book would probably be around 100 or so.
Yeah.
So there's things that are omitted from this.
Yeah.
What's funny is that Tom and I both noticed that she doesn't speak about Psycho Manus or like there's other parts too.
Yeah, she doesn't speak about the tank fight with Raven. She doesn't speak about Mantis was like a throwaway line. Like she mentioned him like once. Yeah, what she said about Psycho Mantis was just like a throwaway line. But then like the communications towers and like Otacon's like, does love bloom on a battlefield? And Sniper Wolf's death scene, which is one of the most iconic scenes in the whole game. And so I would argue in the series, like that cutscene is like iconic.
Maybe Nastasha, she's like, I'm the only bad bitch in this mission. Like Sniper Wolf is a baddie, and she's like, I'm writing her out of history. She's like, nah, I'm the bad bitch on in this game.
Funny thing is, Meryl's barely mentioned herself. Like she's only mentioned at key moments. She doesn't really describe Meryl.
Yeah, it's not.
So is she like?
She's not passing that test. What's that test of like when two? Well, I guess no, two women didn't even talk to each other. Remember that test, like the Bechdel test?
Bechdel test?
Yeah, I think so. But no, she didn't even talk to any of the women in this game. So
like whenever she sees like another woman that's like, yeah, I'm writing you out of here.
I am the only one.
I'm the only bad.
Mind you, Mei Ling is like a major part. Naomi is a major part. I was thinking specifically for her not mentioning Psychomantis. I think it was too wild that she was like, I'm done.
That is out of my field.
He read your mind and he's floating in the air throwing books at you with his mind. I'm good. He's like, nah.
It's like, I specialize in guns and missiles. This is not me. I don't know what this is.
But like, imagine like in her mind, she recognizes and it's known that the government has secret projects, is funneling money towards different kind of weapons of mass destruction. And then you have to acknowledge that some of that money is maybe going into like
some weird stuff.
Psychic, like really fantastical experiments. I bet she's like, this is too much for me.
Imagine you're like a normal like person going to like MIT and you get like a job in like some sort of like Pentagon research thing and you get high up and you come to find out that David Blaine is like an actual like wizard. It's like, yeah, he does magic, but that's like a cover.
Or like the Long Island Medium is actually like Psychomantis.
Yes. And you have to come to grips with that. Like, oh, this weirdo is actually like a top secret government spy. All right.
Okay, that's what we're doing. So before I studied science and math for no reason now because we have mind readers.
They just break the laws of physics. Okay.
Cool. I think so. To me, that was my canon of why she ignored. I'm not thinking of like the Long Island Medium as like some kind of like foxhound member. But that's her day job to like, but she wasn't training anything else. So
she's like a shaman.
What else? We okay, another thing that we wanted to mention. There's a section in Metal Gear Solid 1 where Miller asks Snake to turn off his monitor so they can discuss that Naomi isn't Naomi. We learned that when Snake turns off the monitor, it doesn't do anything. Like
everybody still hears them.
So was that, you think, Snake purposely doing that to like trick? No, at that point he had no reason to believe.
He just had like a switch that just didn't work. It was like a steering wheel in the car for babies that makes you think that you're driving, but you're not driving. What are you doing?
So Miller's the baby. Turn off the monitor.
And then Snake is the other baby next to him going like...
With the other steering wheel?
The monitor's off, Miller. Meanwhile, you got Ames actually driving the car, going like, idiots.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so... But so...
The horn for the wheel is like... It's like a squeaky toy, like...
Don't tell anyone.
Psst, Snake. Don't tell anyone, but there's a virus out there that kills people on genetic codes.
And Ames is like, you idiot. You dumbass.
I designed it. Oh, so it's funny too, because I just think about like maybe people are just talking shit about other people on the mission. They're like, just turn it off real quick. And everyone can hear.
Or like imagine just like Miller just asks Snake a really personal question and everybody just knows.
Oh my god.
Like, Snake, turn your monitor off. All right. Snake, I have a really bad case of jock itch right now. And we all shared the same foxhole together. And, they can be contagious. So I just want to warn you. And it's like, oh, no.
And everyone's just like, no one breathe.
No one breathed. No one laughed.
Mei Ling drops like a book at that moment.
Like you
her
just
cup of coffee.
Yeah, you just hear like this real quick, like, and everyone's like, "What was that? Hello? Can you hear us?"
Mei Ling's like, I'm so sorry. I heard everything.
This was supposed to be a private conversation, and I'm just forced into this.
I actually don't have jock itch.
I actually don't have jock itch. I was testing you, Naomi. Liquid Snake does not have I mean,
you're so smart. How would you cure jock itch?
and tell me immediately
the exact steps. Oh my god. So I mean, I feel like I guess that was a method for Ames to, of course, be in the know for everything.
Mm.
Like the option to turn the monitor off was there, but it not working. I mean, that means I feel like at the same time, Naomi had went to the bathroom at the perfect time, right? That's why she wasn't privy to Miller's and Snake's conversation, right? Or she took a nap. She took a nap.
No, you're thinking of Naomi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Naomi was taking her quote unquote nap, that was actually her being detained by Ames's men.
I forgot about that because of what she said about her brother.
Yes.
I forgot.
And
about
that. And that kind of wraps up like a silly little thing in Metal Gear Solid 1, because it's like Snake just asks Colonel straight up, it's like, ask Naomi, and Colonel's like, I can't because she's taking a nap right now. And like, even as a child, I was like,
wake her up.
Wake her up. What the fuck?
You're like
taking a nap.
The Colonel's like on the phone looking at her. It's like, wake her up.
Like, Snake, she's a little eepy right now.
Oh, little eepy. So, I mean, I think it's just a funny little caveat to see from Nastasha's side. Like, I kind of imagine her eyes wide open while Miller's talking, like, oh my god. Because she doesn't chime in at all. So she's just like, oh my god.
Oh, this is getting juicy.
What else? Real briefly, in this book, we learn that Liquid knew about the Patriots. Like, he references them by name. He essentially says he knows that people are listening. Like, at one point, Snake is knocked out. This is before the Metal Gear fight.
No, it's after the Metal Gear fight.
You want to say it? Sorry, I'm messing up.
No, that's okay. You're fine. Immediately after the Metal Gear fight, Snake is knocked out, and Liquid transports Snake on top of Metal Gear for the fist
That's
fight.
what I meant. That's what I meant.
Oh, my bad.
But I wasn't clear. Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I just want to say it because I feel validated. Sorry, go ahead.
And while Snake is like knocked out, it's very brief, but it's just basically Liquid saying like, when I'm done here, I'm coming for you, you patriots. And that's it. It's just like a way to acknowledge that like Liquid knew.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah.
It also kind of shows just how good of a... Liquid was really that guy.
He was, man.
He was honestly... We did a YouTube video on it. But just a phenomenal soldier, super intelligent. He was just... it's honestly an issue of he was so self-conscious. That's really what was his demise.
He's the most self-conscious dude on the planet. He really is.
And yet the most capable.
Isn't that the... Why are you looking at me like that? Stop. I am not Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake.
Liquid T.
Oh no. Oh no.
Who's Solid T?
Solid T.
Solid is okay. I'm getting off track here.
But Liquid knew about the Patriots, which I think is again nice world building.
Yeah.
And in later games with the I don't know, it kind of makes sense to me. I think about like Liquid Ocelot and like I don't know like the
and 4 and yeah.
It's a cool little nugget of information. Another thing we learned is that at the end of the book, once Metal Gear Solid 1 is done, and after essentially Ames gives her the Fox Die CD, and then he gives her back her record of the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 1, he's like, yo, your car's in the back, you can go.
Get out of here.
And it's her house.
Yeah.
So to me, that was kind of a nod, like, yeah, you aren't safe.
Get out of here.
Which, to me, that was kind of like... I know in Metal Gear Solid 2, he kind of is in the role of, like, a DARPA chief and whatnot. But to me, I feel like that was kind of him, like, choosing between his life and hers. And he was like, you go ahead.
Yeah, because if you think about the way these events were going to play out, he probably had to have killed her. Like, that was probably his original orders. Like, kill her. when the mission is done, right?
Yeah, and especially too since she threatened to release everything.
Yeah, especially after that. So he probably came to the conclusion of thinking like, okay, well, if she's going to die, I could at least give her a shot and sacrifice myself in the process.
And if Ames was listening to everything in Metal Gear Solid 1, we can imagine the Patriots were too.
Mm-hmm.
They were all listening in right there with him. So I thought that was interesting. Like his, he saved his ex-wife. They share a kiss.
They do.
So wherever she is, I hope she's okay. I've never looked up Metal Gear Solid fan fiction. I feel like that's something I can't believe I haven't even touched.
Honestly, with the amount of Miller and Big Boss stuff that I see around, I'm surprised you haven't been there already. I'm sure that there's like a bunch of like.
It's probably a good one. Oh, it's probably really good ones. Snake and Otacon ones. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, how did I get here? Oh, because Ames kissed Nastasha. But yeah, he essentially kind of helps her live. It's just I feel like I would love to read more about him. I wish there were more like if maybe a game would release like classified documents that he wrote, like little.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Little. I think like random like maybe like blacked out documents where we see some things
That'd
he
be
wrote.
sick. Yeah, that'd be so cool.
I feel like that'd be cool. I'm really curious about him, especially too considering how close he is to the Patriots. I feel like we never get much.
Yeah, and I feel like his role in 2, I feel like that was like his punishment. Like his role in 2 is essentially to die. I don't know. Like he seems like the kind of guy that is aware that the system sucks, but like he doesn't have the courage to fight it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows that Nastasha has the strength to fight it, which is why I feel like that he gave her the discs. But like I think that like he's the type that just kind of like goes through the motions because he doesn't know what else to do.
I see. Yeah, he put it in the hands of someone he knew would
try something that he wouldn't think of.
And I think that's valid. I feel like there's, especially like, not to change the topics, but like in a current society, like not everybody has to be organizers or activists. There's certain people who are more primed for that.
Yeah, I mean everybody has a role to play.
Mm-hmm. So his role was like, you know what? I may not be as adept as she is at relaying this, so I'm gonna do my part in helping her relay it. And his is just as valid. Yeah,
and I would argue it's just as brave as well. Like he's not the forward facing one. Like he's not the author of Shadow Moses, but he's the reason why the leak happened. Like Nastasha was the one to share it, but he's the one that leaked it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No, agreed. So I think honestly, I feel like now when I play Metal Gear Solid 2, I'm gonna be like, wow, Ames, I know so much more about you.
Right? And like he just seemed like a throwaway character in that game. And boom, there's like this whole backstory with him. That's really cool. Like it really makes like the world that this game exists in more of like a 3-dimensional place.
Yeah, it's just interesting that like the way it's set up in the menu, it's almost as if it wants you to read this first. And I don't know anyone who's done that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've done that, let us know. I'm curious to see like I'm curious to see what someone thought when they played Metal Gear Solid 2 after reading that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you come in? You're like waiting for the big drop, the big reveal.
Yeah, you're waiting for Ames and you're waiting for the Patriots and.
So very, very interesting. You have some book questions. I think we should end because we're getting towards the hour and a half mark.
That's true.
So we got some book questions that Tom looked up.
I looked up 2 and I wrote 2.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so question number 1.
Question number 1.
Were you satisfied with the book's outcome, or did you have any questions left unanswered?
Ooh, I like that. I would say I am very satisfied with this book. I am sad I didn't read it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even add on more to what you said. This really built the world. And I think hearing the point of view of someone who was in Snake's team, I think is so cool. Because, like, we played as Snake, we went through the motions, and now we get this POV of, like, someone, like, kind of, like, just, like, where were they? What were they doing? What were they thinking? How did they even become a part of this team?
Mhm.
I feel like that was such a cool little vantage point to get. As far as did I feel anything was missing, I just want more. I'm going to be honest. I would love to know more about Richard Ames. I think that's what it kind of, like, sparked in me.
Uh-huh.
I'm interested in that character now. How about you?
I feel that the book is very, very well rounded. If I were to critique it a little bit, I just wish that it covered more events that happened in the game. I just wanted to hear, like, maybe like a weapons expert, maybe like nerd out on the tank that Raven was driving during that boss. You know, like, just is simple things. Now, questions left unanswered. I mean, there's really no way you could pull it off, but, like, I want to hear more about Liquid's opinions on the Patriots. Like, what was his knowledge of them? Because, like, in the book, like, it's literally like a line, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I want to hear, like, how he learned about him. I want to hear, like, who they think, like, who does he think that the Patriots are?
That is true. Because if you think about it, in Metal Gear Solid 2, we get quote-unquote Liquid through Ocelot, and he's talking about stuff. But that's retconned to be Ocelot pretending to be Liquid.
Yeah.
So, in the canon, that's the only point in which Liquid even speaks about the Patriots from his own point of view.
Yeah.
So, like you said, yeah, we really don't know what he knows. And, I mean, we can assume he wants to kill them, but...
We can only speculate.
Yeah. Does he want to overpower them, overtake them? Does he just want to take them down? What's the? I guess he knows about it from the Les Enfants from Zero.
Yeah, it's got to be from Zero, because Zero was literally a Patriot. Well, Cypher turned into the Patriots, but, you know, I'm getting in the
So
weeds
that's
on
probably
that.
what it is, and he's...
Yeah, but even so, I want to hear that perspective, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Question number 2. Did the author surprise or shock you with twists and turns throughout the plot? Did you see them coming, or were you caught off guard?
I would say, you know what? I was caught off guard with just, like, her character.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get a very just, like, she's just, like, this really cool, calm, and collected expert. And in this book, I got, like, fear. I got I feel like a little jealousy.
Mhm.
We get her history, her stance on like nuclear weapons, and, like, I feel like I was shocked by that. Like, we really got a piece of her rather than, like, this was an expose.
Yeah.
But I felt her in this.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a fact retelling or storytelling.
For me, a big thing that I got that surprised me was when I thought that when Nastasha was, like, getting the upper hand on Ames, saying, like, oh, I have my guy on the outside and I uploaded all this stuff, and Ames was like, no, you didn't. I was like, oh no.
And then he reached his hand and
I was like, oh no.
that's where you went.
Question number 3. What do you think the purpose was for changing the dialogue? We kind of already talked about this already.
I mean, is that the whole question?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's either, you know what? I think my point of view, I think it was a mistranslation.
Mm-hmm.
That's my headcanon.
I see.
What's your headcanon?
My headcanon is that Naomi is... Man, I keep mixing up their names. Nastasha is recounting the events to the best of her knowledge. And as she is listening to what was said and done, she's just kind of, like, writing it down, and it's like, yeah, it's fine. It's close enough.
Okay.
Like, I think that she's, like, the type that it's like, it's not the words that's important. It's what's the meaning behind them.
I hear you. And I think too, like for like the whoever wrote this, it was like that's the where like don't overthink it. This is just her point of view.
Yeah.
Like we might be doing too much as always.
Question number 4 and the last one. I think we might have already answered this already too.
Okay.
What was Ames's motive towards the end of the book?
Oh, when he handed Nastasha the Fox Die program on the optical disc, and then be like, "Yo, get your car and get out of here."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much said it. I mean, I do think he picked her life over his. He knew the way the Patriots operate. They use somebody, you're useful, and then when you're not.
Yeah, I mean, they offed somebody who had a really good idea for a battleship.
They offed Jim Houseman.
Jim Houseman, who was like their boy. That was one of them. You know what I mean?
They offed him, and you know it was very apparent that he just wanted to take care of Nastasha. That's what it felt like to me. So
Yeah.
I think that was his motive. Just I think I don't know if it's like romantic love, but I really do think he respected Nastasha.
Yeah, I thought it was both ways, to be honest. I feel like he had lingering feelings for her, and he respected her as like a professional.
Yeah, because she honestly throughout the book, she just carried herself as someone who like felt indebted to the next generation. I want to make sure again, like that whole what was that word? The
Oh, the Latin phrase.
yeah, damnosa heredas. I want to make sure we're not passing on this burden to the next. Like you might think having weapons of mass destruction are good for your country, but it's a larger burden to carry. But I think it's well worth a read. On Goodreads, I will put it at 4 out of 5.
I ranked it 4 out of 5 as well.
I think it's what was missing. I think it felt considering we know the larger game, it felt a little rushed. There was some parts that were kind of cut out. But I think it was written well. It was a good and easy, like quick read, and it was an interesting point of view. It felt like she actually wrote it.
Yeah, I actually kind of feel the same way with my review. My only reason for giving it 4 out of 5 instead of 5 out of 5 was that it cut so much from the game. Like I wanted to know more about what Nastasha thought about other certain aspects, like when Otacon was talking about like, oh, can love bloom on a battlefield? Like I want to hear her retort what Otacon had to say, because like I know that she's like a little Otacon hater.
Yeah.
I just want, like, it's like look at this dork.
Or what if she heard that and then for a brief second her and Ames' eyes met?
Yeah. And that, in a sense, that is a battlefield of their own. And maybe that's, you see what I mean?
Like
that could have been like the point where like maybe they feel that spark again. Mm-hmm. See what I mean?
I think that would have been really, really cool.
Or when Sniper Wolf was dying and she was talking about how Big Boss found her in
Iran? Or Afghanistan?
Iraq, Iran, I forget the area, but she's a Kurd and she's, is in that area of the world. And like, I wonder what like Naomi would think of that like geopolitical area, like just.
And I mean, no, to that point too, why does Nastasha hold that view of nuclear weapons? Not to say people are like pro-nuclear, but she's so anti. Did something happen in her childhood? Did she like... Ooh. Like what brought her to her current moment?
I could be bullshitting here, but maybe Chernobyl?
Because she's from... Yeah.
I believe she's from Russia or Ukraine.
Let's see real quick. Yeah, Ukrainian Russian.
If I was to guess, I think it's...
Oh, well, this is... You know what? Maybe you know what? I think you're right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Maybe too. I should read up on some like game manuals. Maybe game manuals will have more information on her. But even so, even if that was, let's say it was Chernobyl, I would love to hear her point of view on that.
Yeah.
Like I experienced it firsthand, or my family did, or like I feel like that would be a cool
like little thing in the book to be like, the reason why I hate nuclear weapons.
Ames has a throwaway line of, yeah, you let your childhood affect you to this day. And you're like, she's like, that was significant. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Some kind of more lore to her. I think that would have been cool. But all in all, I think it's a worthy read. If you're going to have to read anything in that previous story section of Metal Gear Solid 2, I would say read this one.
I agree.
But, wow. Great job with book club. If you made it all this way, thank you. We took our time to read this. We took some extensive notes, but it was fun.
This was a really cool read. I get why the in-game universe of Metal Gear, why this was like such a bombshell. Because like it's almost like the equivalent of like a book coming out with definitive proof that there's like a flying saucer in Area 51.
And someone who was a part of like it's cool. No, it was great. I wish there was more of stuff like this. There isn't, right? Like this is kind of the only game that has little extra.
Yeah, I think this is it.
So, well, everybody definitely check it out. Thank you for listening so far. We're gonna end the episode right here. Before we go, is there anything else that we need to?
We got no confirmed emails that of people who read the book or people who wanted to review the book. And it's not that like I'm expecting emails every week, but I'm assuming nobody read it. And for that, you are all failures.
Failures?
Failures.
Can they at least just like fail this episode? They're failures.
Yeah, that's a little harsh. You failed. You failed.
Mind you, I read the rest of this book last night at like 2 a.m.
But like that's like real school.
It felt
You know what
like
I mean?
school.
But that's what I mean. Like I got the assignment due tomorrow. I gotta read the book.
Yeah, I stayed up late because I was like, I went out and I was like, damn, I need to finish it. I came back from hanging out. I was like, I gotta lock in for this book report tomorrow. So.
But see, that's what I mean.
Tom wants. We need some pop quiz results.
I want the students. I see. I'm not a teacher. I'm a narc. I'm the hall monitor.
Ew.
I know. I'm a narc that rats to the dean and stuff.
Terrible.
Like, oh, Tom's here. Oh,
he takes the hall monitor sash seriously.
I do. I got the badge. No running.
But next episode, did we decide yet? Do we know what it's gonna be? Will that be? Do we keep it secret? Do we know?
Let's keep it secret because I don't know. I don't know what our next episode is. We'll figure it out.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. As always, please email us anything at itstknm@gmail.com. We spoke earlier about any if you have any ideas for future episodes, if you're interested in merch, if you have any book report, if you want to add in your 2 cents about this book, let us know at itstknm@gmail.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We have some cool things in the works. They're in the works. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
But we're working hard for all of you.
We have a couple of ideas in the chamber that we're working on. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah, you're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
As always, you can catch us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Here, I'm Kay.
I'm T.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.